My name is Representative Hillary Cassell. I have the honor and privilege of representing District 101, which is located in Broward County. My cities are Fort Lauderdale, Dania Beach, Davie, Hollywood, and Hallandale. And I like to say that I have the honor of representing Broward County's infrastructure. I have the airport, Port Everglades, Hard Rock, the entire coastline from Dania Beach all the way down to the Miami-Dade border. So every hotel, restaurant, and small business in between. So my priorities are really also what inspired me to run for office. I've had the honor of being an attorney for the last 18 years. For 15 of those years, I have solely focused my career on the area of property insurance, from representing every insurance company in the world to representing Floridians from Key West all the way into the Panhandle for the last 10 years. I've been there to help people in their greatest times of needs after suffering a catastrophic loss. And I was engaged in the legislative process as a consumer advocate for several years. And I really felt that it was time to have somebody with some firsthand experience in the property insurance space. Obviously, we've been in a crisis for quite some time, and that's really my focus this legislative session. Consumers need relief. We've done a lot of work in the legislature over the last couple of years, where we really focused on helping insurance companies to stabilize the market, to incentivize more companies to come to the state of Florida. But we haven't really provided Floridians the relief that they need in their pocketbooks to be able to afford those everyday items. We know with inflation, the cost of groceries, gas, insurance, everything is on the rise. So my focus this year is really how can we get creative and inventive and come up with some ideas that are going to help Floridians put some money back in their pocket, and once again to stabilize our very fragile property insurance market in the state. I also, my priority, one of the reasons why I ran for office is to really talk about the mental health crisis that we not only have here in the state, but really globally. I have lived with bipolar for the last 15 years. I was diagnosed as a 4-year attorney. I had $160,000 in law school debt and was really struggling with whether or not I was going to be able to continue to work in the career that I have strived for and worked my entire life to get to. But I got healthy, I stayed focused, and really I wanted to use my platform in this space to highlight someone and a positive example of somebody living with a mental illness, to show others out there that you can conquer it, that there is light at the end of the tunnel. It's not easy and it takes some work, but I also know that my journey really opened my eyes to how difficult the process can be. And I was fortunate enough to have a graduate level education and to have supportive parents and to have great health insurance. And even with all of those things in my corner, navigating the mental health system was extremely complicated. So one of my priorities this year was to really help with our workforce issues. Florida currently is number 43rd in the country for patient to provider ratio. So what does that mean? For every single patient that needs access to mental health care, there's 550 patients to every one provider. So I have a loan forgiveness bill that I actually worked with Senator Polsky on last year, which would help incentivize students coming out of undergraduate school and graduate school to go into our behavioral health, our behavioral health community-based programs, whether it be our school systems or in our community programs that are the ones that really see people in their greatest time of need. And I'm fortunate enough that I can report that that has been incorporated into the Live Healthy Act that is being championed by Senate President Passidomo. So I think it's going to be a great win to really help bring those resources to the people who need it the most. As I mentioned, I have the honor of representing really coastal Broward, and sadly, my district was the community that sustained extensive damage as a result of that 1 in 1,000 year flood in April. And we know that we really need to invest in our infrastructure. We know sea levels are on the rise, and really making sure that my particular community, which is a coastal community and subject to flooding, is able to really revitalize its infrastructure. So for years to come, we won't experience what we experienced last April. We had over 100 houses flooded, and people were really devastated by a random storm in April. So really focusing on infrastructure, making sure that my cities, their wastewater systems are getting up to date, are flooding, and just making my cities more resilient. I also would just like to add, as a member of the Jewish community, obviously we are seeing such a rise on anti-Semitism, and I have the honor of representing several organizations, whether it be the Holocaust Documentation and Education Center, whether it be several Jewish community centers that are looking to increase their security to protect their community as a result of the rise in anti-Semitism. So those are also some of my budget priorities for my community. I came here with a focus. There's a lot that takes place in this process that can kind of get you in the weeds or take you off focus of really what Floridians need. And I think Floridians are screaming at the top of the lungs what we need. We need help when it comes to property insurance. We really need to lower people's rates. It is becoming unaffordable. Our seniors are, being priced out of their homes that they've lived in for years. They've raised their families in, they want to raise their grandchildren in, and sadly don't have, because they're on fixed incomes, don't have the means and resources to keep up with all of these growing costs. So I really think we need to focus on property insurance. I think we've got to figure out how we're going to lower those costs. It creates a problem when not only in our housing market, but in our rental market, when people don't have the ability to move from one phase from renting to owning because they can't factor in what that additional cost is going to be. People need to have an understanding of what home ownership looks like and to make sure that they can afford it before they make that big purchase. And right now people are afraid when they can't be sure about what that cost is going to look like for them. It's keeping them in rentals, which we already know we've got, a housing crisis on our hands. So I think if we tackle the issues that are the most important to Floridians, which is putting money back in their pocketbooks, how do we help save them money? And I think as Florida, there's so many amazing natural resources that we have here to protect those and make sure we stay focused on conservation and resiliency and rebuilding stronger. I think if we focus on that, we will focus on all Floridians instead of just a few.